Recording our webinar, introducing and presenting our Global Minds Masters. This is we think the best way of calling our master Global Minds. But Minds actually stands for mobility, inclusion, and diversity in societies. So we will explain to everybody today what are we really wanting to achieve in the masters, what could you learn, but also what could you contribute to the masters. Okay, so I have here a team with me, and we have some photos of all of ourselves. So myself, I am Anca Minescu. I'm a lecturer in psychology here at the University of Limerick in Ireland, even if I'm actually Romanian. So I think that's very important. So I will always mention my nationality. And I'm joined by Dr. Elizabeth Collins, who has administered this program since 2017. Actually, we started a bit earlier, but 2017, we started to have students on the program. So Elizabeth, do you want to say something about yourself?
Sure. I am situated in Lisbon, but as with Anca, I am not actually Portuguese. I am from the United States. So, and I have been coordinating the program since the start, but will most likely be handing over those coordination responsibilities probably to Radek for this new instantiation. So yes. I will then allow Radek to introduce himself.
So Radek in Warsaw.
Yes, hello everyone. And it makes me kind of boring because I am Polish and I am in Poland. And that's very rare on this program. But yes, my name is Radek Stanczewski, and in the beginning I was the administrative coordinator of the Warsaw branch of the program. And now I'm working with Anca and Elizabeth in the main coordination team, in the consortium coordination.
Thank you so much, Radek. And next we will go in, I don't want to say age order, but cohort order here. Bea has been with us in the very first cohort. Okay, so Bea.
Hi, everyone. So yes, as Anca says, I'm Bea. I'm from the first cohort of Global Minds, and I'm Spanish, but I'm currently located in Ireland, working with Anca, actually.
Excellent. So I just love this kind of mismatch of where people are from and where they're living. And I realized that, well, we have a majority of people living in Ireland. That's just because, yeah, well, I'm in Ireland. So I'm, yeah, well, this is how it is on the call. So it's definitely not like that in the program where we do have people from everywhere. Diana used to be in Limerick, but is now in Oslo. Is in the current cohort of the Global Minds program. Didi, do you want to say something?
Yes, that I'm really happy to be here, and I am really happy that all of you are interested to join this wonderful program. I highly recommend it, and then you will know why throughout this presentation. And well, I am in Norway, but I am originally from Colombia. So yeah.
Excellent. And one of Didi's colleagues in the same cohort is Afroja, and she will join us a little later. And the reason is because she is actually an ambassador, a student ambassador for the international office called UL Global here in Limerick. So she's doing some student ambassador important jobs at the moment, but she will join us. If you guys want to fill in this Mentimeter, it's put in the chat there. And we can see, no, actually it's not in the chat. I have to put it in the chat, right? Because I put it in the chat for, did you do it, Didi? Oh, perfect, right? And then we can have a sense of where you guys are also from. And if you lived abroad, yeah, so that was one of our curiosities, because what we want you to do in these masters is definitely that you live at least in 2 different countries. And this is something that is typical to joint programs. So our masters is a masters that is offered between 4 universities. So I am here in the University of Limerick. The second university on the list here is SWPS, which is situated in Warsaw in Poland, and Radek is our representative from Warsaw on the call today. Then we have the University of Oslo in Norway, and at the moment Diana is there studying, and of course we have a team there, and the former lead of the programs since we started in 2017 is ISTE, University Institute of Lisbon, where Elizabeth is situated. So we have on the call at the moment people from all four universities. And we will tell you a little bit about, well, you know, we just put some funny photos because photos are attractive and so on, you know, but there's typically many more people involved in running a master's program than just who you see here. But these are some of us, some of the lecturers. We meet at least twice a year between the four coordinating institutions to figure out if everything is working well, okay? And also to try to problem solve the things that don't always work well. Because collaborations are never straightforward, and in order to ensure that our masters is up to the highest quality of standards, and to have also inputs from international scholars in our field, which is psychology, in particular cross-cultural psychology, we have also some special appointees to our program, which are part of our international advisory board, but also our quality board. So this is just to give you some names and some reference to the fact that you are going to be studying in 4 universities, or at least with input from people from 4 universities, but also a much wider area of international scholars, because all of us lecturers on the course are linked with our respective psychological networks in political psychology, in community psychology, in cross-cultural psychology, or just more generally social psychology. And we of course collaborate with people in these networks. Here is just a little history of where we come from. And we come from the fact that the Erasmus European Union funding gave us a scholarship to give student scholarships to come on our program. So our program really started in 2016, and we have run 3 cohorts of the program under the Erasmus Mundus funding. Last year, we took a break because of the coronavirus. So it actually was not intended as a break. We recruited students. There was a lot of interest in the program, but due to the suspension of mobilities that happened in some of our partner countries, we had to postpone it to this year. So we're opening up the program again in September 2021. This time is with 4 universities. We used to have 5, and it moves to Limerick. And we don't have student scholarships, at least not the program Erasmus Mundus scholarships we used to have before. So this is a self-funded program, okay? So like any other program typical at universities, okay? This is again just photos of people who joined the program. We had people from all over the world. Really, I can hand on the heart say that from Bangladesh to South Korea to America, and a few Europeans. Actually, I think the Europeans were in a minority over the over the last cohort. Didi, do we have the results for the Mentimeter? Did people click in? I'm just gonna check here as well, just to see whether the attendees that we have, the 21 people on the call, are also from all over the world. But I don't think, no, it's fine. It's okay. We don't have it. I think maybe the link got a bit lost. So one of the interesting things that happens in the Global Minds is that people learn from people. This actually happens a lot in any educational situation. But our masters is such that because you move from different universities through the 2 years of your study, you get to experience at minimum 2 countries. And all the while you get to experience the diversity that you can see on this call of the lecturers and the people running the program, but very importantly, the diversity of the student cohorts, right? So the people that you study with. And this is, we think, one of the nicest things about our program, this jointness, the fact that it is delivered by an international team with an international classroom, okay, and happening internationally as well, right? So I'm going to explain to you that there are 3 pathways to the program, okay? So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what you are learning. Then I'm going to pass on to Radek to give you a sense of a very special element of our program, which is an internship. So we expect everybody to do a 300-hour internship in an organization that works with issues like, see here, mobility, inclusion, diversity, our keywords, our global minds words. And that internship can be happening in areas where you might have a future career, okay? Or it could just be a work experience that is part of your study, okay? So Radek will tell you where our previous cohorts of students have been, and Bea has some interesting insights as well and about, you know, how do you go about securing the internship, right? So this is I think also a huge experiential learning on the part of the students. So I'll start with the paths, okay? By the way, Elizabeth will also tell you how to apply, okay? So this will also happen. And in the meantime, while we talk about this aspect or that aspect, I'm really hoping that all the panelists can jump in and can complement or you know, give maybe more details to things that I might do very fast. I want to show you the results of the Mentimeter. Can you see them? Yeah, right now. Okay, so here we have a lot of people coming from Germany, which is really nice. We actually were very popular in Germany before as well, which is brilliant. Perhaps it has to do with the fact that Germany was the most welcoming to the refugees, especially in the last 5 to 10 years, the Syrian-Iraq refugee wars. And obviously in Germany, people want to get a degree in the psychology of inclusion, in how do you integrate refugees and migrants and asylum seekers. So obviously we love to see that young people want to get the qualification in this, because this is what our program is about. But we also have people here from the United States, Turkey, Indonesia, Norway, Brazil, and Portugal, which I think is just another representation of whoever filled the Mentimeter. Previously, we also had students from Bangladesh, from Ghana, from any other exotic place I can think of, Ecuador, right? Bolivia, one of my master's students right now is from Bolivia.
Kazakhstan.
Which one?
Kazakhstan.
Kazakhstan. Oh yes, Kazakhstan. Our Aika, one of my master students that I supervise is also from Kazakhstan. Russia, of course. So yeah, you can really expect quite a lot of intercultural diversity here. And did I have a second question? Oh yeah, but the second question didn't get answered, so we'll move this. Oh yeah, okay. So look, this is interesting, right? So we asked people, you guys, the people attending, if you've ever lived abroad, and interestingly enough, 15 of you out of the 20, or 15 out of the 16 who answered said yes, and this is really cool, right? Because it means that you already have an understanding or want to learn more about how is it to be out of the comfort zone of your own culture, right? And this definitely happens in our program. So now that we know where people are from, I can tell you where you're gonna go. Okay, so if you get accepted to the program and already at the acceptance phase, right, you kind of have to make some choices, okay, between 3 paths, 3 mobility paths. The first one is called culture and diversity. And this is a path that starts in Lisbon at ISTE. And so the first semester of your first year will happen in ISTE. Then in the second semester, you come to the University of Limerick, here where I am in Ireland. And then everybody goes to a summer school. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then in the second year, you have the chance to go back to Lisbon or stay in Limerick, right? So if you're on this path of culture and diversity, you're really making a choice for Portugal and Ireland, right? However, okay, the summer school and the internship can actually happen in any other country, right? So there is always this opportunity to actually have a third country in your 2-year master's program journey, okay? The second path and the third, so path B and C, both start in Warsaw over there with Radek. Okay, and then if you're on path B, which is called Mobility and Society, you're going from Warsaw to Oslo. And then you go to your summer school, and in your year 2, you either stay in Oslo or go back to Warsaw, okay? And same again, the summer school and the internship will probably, or can be in other places too. And path C is called Inclusion and Health, and this is a choice between Poland and Ireland, okay? Actually, by the way, this is a really nice combination. Lots of Polish people live in Ireland and really love it here, so it's not an unusual route, and the airplanes are used to this journey, so that's good to know as well. So you start in Poland, you come to Limerick, and then you either stay in Limerick or go back to Warsaw. So the structure really is that the first 2 semesters are study semesters, so you get a lot of taught content in these areas, right? The first semester gives you a baseline knowledge in cross-cultural psychology and research methods, okay? In the second semester, you get more specialized knowledge according to the path that you chose, and in the thesis, you continue in that specialization. So the supervision of your thesis, for example, if you come on path C, will most likely be in the direction of migrant health or inclusion of migrant in health, right? So that your thesis is kind of aligned with this path of and the content that you've gained. At the same time, another key piece of knowledge that everybody will get, and a chance for all the people from all paths to come together, is in our 2-week summer school. And I would like Bea actually, because she has a better experience of a summer school outside of coronavirus, to tell us a bit about that summer school, right? So the summer school is meant, has multiple purposes. One is to bring everybody together, which again is it's a great opportunity for people from the different paths to actually network and know each other, but also to deliver much more intensive research methods into cross-cultural research, right, which is a very specific type of psychological research, and everybody coming on our program should have it, right? And in addition, you will also have a good exposure to how we run interventions, okay? So how do you do work with communities where you implement the psychological knowledge that you learn in the class in real life, okay? So these interventions could be working with migrants or even working with international students, delivering intercultural competence skills, things like this, right? So you get a very good taste, usually from professionals who are running and doing these interventions, so that you can also see already in year 1 how the psychological knowledge that we're passing into the masters can be applied to real life, right? And that should prepare you for, or guide you a little bit to choose an internship as well, yeah, to choose an internship place. And the internship and the thesis all happen in the second year, yeah? So the second year, the contact in the second year is mainly to do with your work on your thesis with the supervisors, okay? But Bea, do you want to tell us a bit about the summer school?
Yeah, why not? I have a very good memory of the summer school, actually, because it was the first time that all the cohorts, like for my year, the cohorts were arranged a little bit differently. But it was the first time that we all met together, also with the professors from all the universities. So it was very, very nice. And we bonded a lot, both with the teachers and the students. But I think that for me, and it's something that I always highlight about this program, is that diversity that Anca was telling before, just between, you know, within the cohorts, it was really relevant for this summer school, because I like multiculturalism, and this diversity is relevant in any kind of context, but for this specific program and like these interventions in real life, having discussions with people from all around the world, from different cultural backgrounds, religion or nationality, was really enriching. And it was something that I really took with me after the summer school.
Excellent. So of course, you know, you're here, you have to say the nice stuff. The other stuff was that you got a lot of sunshine and nice food in Portugal, but that's okay. That's just a bonus. Okay. So that's okay. Yeah. So thanks for that. I'm going to just go on because I want to give everybody a chance to speak something about the program. And I suppose the core knowledge that we want to pass on to you guys is that this is about social and cultural psychology. So what does that mean? Okay, so psychology is very much about how people function. Yeah, why we think, why we feel, what we do in certain situations. And especially when you talk about the social and cultural aspects of psychology, we are interested in those explanations that are related to the groups you belong to. So why you feel a certain way or why you react a certain way to a situation is not just a matter of your own personality or your own, craziness or something like this, but it is also conditioned very much by the culture that you grew up in. Yeah. So, you know, I often give the example of babies, you know, that American babies seem to cry more than Chinese babies. Why? I mean, that's really interesting. Yeah. So that's a cross-cultural reality where you can see that the way the people around you respond to you, the culture around you, the groups around you, actually really determine how you behave in reality, right? And of course, here there's between the social and political, there's also the political, between the social and the cultural, there's also the political element, right? Because there are also political cultures and social implications of political regimes, right? And these are the different aspects that we're going to focus on in the program, right? But at the baseline, there is this understanding of cross-cultural psychology. So what is uniquely human across cultures and what is culture specific? And very importantly, how do you recognize, respect, and reconcile cultural differences, right? So this is the definition of intercultural competence, which is a key skill that we want our students to learn. And that is in recognizing that certain differences matter, okay? Respecting the fact that, you know, somebody's traditional clothing is essential to their well-being. It's not just a fashion show. And reconciling it, because we do, no matter what our differences, we do have to work. We do have to live together with people who think, believe, or behave in different ways. Yeah. So how do we do that with a level of competence? Yeah. Without being afraid of the unknown, without being anxious or slightly, oh, this is out of my comfort zone, I don't want to go there, right? So these are the kind of things that we're going to learn here. Here are some more fancy words about what exactly we do and we teach and so on, but these are all, you'll find them in all the textbooks and all the lecture slides you're gonna get and so on. So the core thing is that we really want to give you a theoretical, but also research-oriented understanding of how mobility and migration affects people, what happens during migration, before, after, during migration, how do we include people that are different? So this also doesn't just refer to migrants or incomings in a country, but it could also refer to ethnic, indigenous minorities, right, that are on the outside of the mainstream society, in any society, right? And more generally, how we deal with diversity, yeah? And this diversity can, and dealing with diversity means very different things, but at the same time, there are some baseline requirements that we all need to have. For example, curiosity, yeah, which you all on the call seem to have because you've all lived abroad for a while, right? So people don't just go living abroad if they're not curious about the world, right? And the other ingredient, I would say, the baseline ingredient of being able to study these masters and work in this field is patience. Yeah, so you have to be curious, but you also have to give time, give yourself time and give other people time to adapt to each other and to adapt to different situations, right? And in the 2 years of this program, you will really be exercising both your curiosity and your patience, as it always happens in any degree, but in particular with such a complex experiential degree that requires you to move countries, okay? So I kept referring to this experiential learning, and Bea also summarized that it actually really also happens in the summer school. Now, I would like to ask actually Didi whether she has a sense or whether she wants to talk a little bit about how she learned by experience, right? I mean, there are always good and bad things that happen when you have to move countries, for example, between visas and coronavirus tests and all sorts of things and arrangements, right? But I wonder if yeah, what is your reflection, Didi, of doing the program even during a pandemic, right? So the pandemic hit towards the end of your first year into the program, and now you are continuing your second year of the program still under kind of pandemic situations. Still, you managed to go from Ireland to Norway because you really didn't want to miss out this opportunity, Corona or not, right? So do you want to say something about this part of the program?
I think that one of the main reasons for which I wanted to join this program is for that component of traveling to different countries and then also meeting new people every time. I am a very sociable person, so I think that the program has facilitated a lot this experience. And definitely when you move from one place to other, where there are lots of stress, and especially if you are non-European, because you have to deal with all the visas and residency complications. But I will say that living in these three countries, Portugal, Ireland, and Norway so far, has been completely worth it. And I will do it again. If somebody asks me, like, would you do it again? I will do it again for sure. I have met wonderful people in the program, not only the people from the program, but the people from the universities that I have been, or the locals in general. It has been a very enriching experience. In all possible ways that you can imagine, in the academic life, because you are going to be living different academic experience. Each university have different systems, even for the grading is different. How professors deliver classes is different, and also the methodologies are different. So it's also a learning from life, or how you have to adapt to different environments. And well, and especially under this pandemic conditions, adaptation is the key. And even under this, well, I think that in certain way we were lucky, because we started a master at least one semester and a half of normality. But the master program have made all possible things to make us feel integrated, even in the distance. So we as community, as a student community, we have been together in online meetings also to try to meet with each other. So it's not like we are isolated from each other. But yeah, it is a challenge. But again, I will make emphasis, is completely worth it.
Yeah, so I'm glad to hear that. And of course, like, well, you know, that's why you're here on the webinar, because we think you had fun despite the hard things as well. There is an element of stress, and there is an element of hardship that, of course, we are teaching you about as well, right? So when you learn about migration, and when you learn about the fact that some groups are excluded, and what that exclusion means for them, and how we might intervene at the societal, say, community, neighborhood level, or at the policy level, at the national policy level, of course there are issues, yeah, and the fact that you have to experience those issues firsthand is challenging, right? And that's what you're learning from. You know, you're learning about how can psychology support people in those challenges. Now, of course, the course team at all four universities will be there to try to support you with those challenges, because of course that's what we believe in. Psychology and individuals don't live in vacuum. Yeah, they are conditioned and they are affected by the structures around them, right? So we are trying to do our best, but for us ourselves as a course team, there has been a lot of learning in this, right? Because what usually happens, and I would like Elizabeth and Radek to comment on this, is that we interview everybody for the master's program, right? So you guys submit your applications and then we're going to have an interview with you. And everybody at the interview says, it's so exciting to live in different countries. Okay, and we are expecting you to say that, because otherwise, why do you want to come to a master's like this, right? But they think it's going to be the most fun thing, you know, because this is like so attractive, you know, that you get to experience 2 different weathers and see the snow in Norway while you never ever see it in Ireland, right? And actually, that is also one of the things that the students struggle with the most. And before I let my colleagues talk about this particular aspect, right? The other thing is that it's also where the biggest learning happens, right? Because you usually don't learn if you're just within your comfort zone. You usually learn when you just step a little bit outside, but not too far, because if you step too far, then it's too much for you, you can't handle, right? So it's that zone of proximal development, it's called in developmental psychology, right? But what was really interesting was to see how, even if the student didn't experience visa problems themselves for their own situation, they saw their colleagues experiencing visa difficulties, right? And that in itself is a learning. So Bea was just talking about this to me this morning, you know, as a Spanish student, she didn't need visas to travel around the partner universities, but she had witnessed her colleagues from other countries experiencing this. And that was a huge learning for everybody involved, right? Radek and Elizabeth, do you want to add anything to that piece on dealing with stress, acculturative stress and migration stress and all that?
Well, I can add to that. Well, first of all, yes, there is acculturative stress involved in the program, because this is it's an international program and people move between countries, so there will be stress related to being mobile. But this is also our job to understand acculturative stress, and going through it is one of the best ways of understanding it. As institutions, we help students adapt to the new environments. So it's not that we leave our students out there and, okay, here, now you're going to Ireland, get an Irish visa, and, you know, kind of bye. It doesn't work like this. We try to ease the transition from one university to the other as much as we possibly can. But at the same time, it very much depends on the students themselves, how they arrange their transfer from one university to the other. I think what is also very important, and this is something that I saw in my classes that I taught as part of the program, that students learn from themselves. So there's a lot of learning from one another when it comes to cross-cultural issues. So we learn each other's cultures in the program, and I think this is extremely exciting. Because I also learned a lot from the students in this program. So I think that this is something to definitely look forward to.
Thank you so much, Radek. Elizabeth, do you want to say something now or later? I see you're very busy answering the questions, which is absolutely excellent, because at least, you know, yeah, people don't have to wait for the answers.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of acculturative stress, I think everything you all said hit home for me. I mean, I remember it's not only there is, of course, there's the difference between Bea and Didi in the level of ease of movement. And then there's another level of difference. So we have Rosy from Bangladesh has now joined us.
Welcome, Rosy.
And Didi didn't need maybe you did, I'm not sure. Didi, did you need a special visa to go to Ireland, or did you just need a residence permit?
I needed visa, I needed residence. Okay. Yes.
But then, so it was Emma, the Bolivian, who didn't need a visa to go to to Ireland. So then the levels differ. And of course, the people from the United States have, although we needed the visas to come, it's a much different level of difficulty, challenge in getting the visas than it is for someone from Bangladesh or Colombia. And
so Rosy, thank you so much for joining us. I introduced you. We had the photos at the beginning, and I told them that you are an ambassador for the University of Limerick, and this justifies this lateness. But I don't want to put you on the spot. But if you want to add anything about the kind of, we're talking about how in the Global Minds you don't just learn in the classroom, and that there is this experiential element that we are trying to support as well, but also we cannot avoid at the same time because it's part of real life. Yet, of course, if you provide on the one hand the scientific knowledge to understand why people feel this way, or you know how difficult some things are, like moving countries and living abroad and having to figure out where to buy bread in every single country, right? But also that there is a level of individual experience and adaptation and yeah. So there are some structural things in, for example, what Elizabeth was saying is the requirements for different countries for different things and so on. But and what Radek was mentioning in the institutional supports that different universities can provide to gear a little bit, and then there's also the individual experience, because ultimately even with the same stressor, every person still reacts differently. So if you wanted to add something about that.
Yes, sure. Thank you very much, Anca, for introducing me. And I'm so sorry that I'm late today. I was just in an interview by University of Limerick, and they are just asking me about the Global Minds program and my experience, and the same thing, the cultural adaptation, food, my adaptability, the support from UL, and also about the Global Minds program. So I'm really sorry I'm late, but that interview took a bit longer than expected. But yes, the reason I was there is because of Global Minds. Because the reason I'm here today at UL, the reason I'm here today with UL Postgrad Student Union, all of these are because of this master's degree program. Because for me, this is not only a study program. For me, this is such an eye-opener. For me, this is a lifetime experience, honestly speaking, because when I was living in my own comfort zone, I didn't face lots of things. I had no idea about all of these things, that just because of the way I look, just because of my appearance, maybe someone can stare at me. And I was, what's so different? So when I started to learn all of this acculturation stress, when I was in class, at the same time, I was going through all of this stress. At the same time, I was trying to adapt. So it was much more easier for me from the theoretical perspective to understand, okay, so now I am at honeymoon phase. Okay, now I'm at second phase. Okay, maybe next I will try to adapt. So I would say all the students who are thinking of taking this course, first of all, this is a great experience. So where you can explore and meet lots of people. For example, for our cohort, we have students from 3 different continents. I never ever met all such diverse people in my life. So this is unique. And about institutional support, from logistic support, from visa to our counseling support, to our personal individual experience, the way I had been supported and still I'm getting support, that's almost like I'm getting support from my mama. It's almost like that. Sometimes I feel that I'm being pampered just because I look different. So it's not everything being racist is not always bad, I would say, because sometimes just because I look different, I sometimes get extra support. Sometimes whenever I work at UL, now I'm at UL, I'm at library. So whenever I'm at library, if I ask for anything, someone will come forward and say, hey, are you an international student? Are you looking for anything? So that's huge. That's huge.
That's positive. It's what is it? Positive discrimination is.
Yes. This is positive discrimination.
That's excellent. Listen, Rosy, thank you so much for that intervention. I just wanted to make sure that we get the message across that in many ways, what we are doing in our program, the experience of studying and living in different countries is really part of coming to study the Global Minds program. And I suppose that this is something that is unique for our program that you might not get in another master's that is just in one country, right? So of course, international students are now traveling all around the world, and it will probably be very rare that you study in any of our countries and don't meet international students, right? So in each and every one of the universities involved in Global Minds, we also have local programs. And I saw there was a question about that, which is very important. So you do look at the other programs as well, which are typically maybe just 1 year instead of the 2 years that we have in the Global Minds. The difference, I suppose, is that you don't get the lived experience, even if the colleagues in your classroom might still be maybe from this part of the world or that part of the world, right? So those are the different options, I suppose, that you have when you want to study a master's program. You know, do I do a 1-year master's program in one country, or do I do a 2-year master's program where I live in different countries and I'm being taught by different lecturers in different academic cultures, in different universities, and with an international peer cohort next to me. Now I'm gonna kind of try to pass it on to Radek, I think, because it's about the internship. So this is, in a way, it's also the year 2 of the program, where you also get this kind of experience working in an organization. And just to say that that is followed up by the master thesis, which involves collecting data and in a scientific, learning the science of doing research, from designing the research, collecting data, analyzing and writing it all up, right? So these are the, I'm just gonna skip through these, right? So this is kind of, the first semester starts in late September, the second semester around mid-January, and then the summer school is in June, July, and then you go into your second year, right? Which means that you can go on an internship after the summer school, up to maybe January even. Some people do it up to September, and they start their master thesis already in September. But then really what you're looking at is that by August in the second year, you're defending your master thesis, right? And hopefully we have celebrations. I'll actually skip the whole master thesis thing because it's a thesis, guys. Okay, it's really, it's I mean, we can only say so much about it. It's again, practice and learn. I suppose that the uniqueness of the Global Minds program when it comes to the thesis is that you have the opportunity to have 2 supervisors from 2 different countries at two different universities. And this again is rather unique for such a joint program as opposed to other national programs, right? So I'm just going to pass on to Radek now to talk a little bit about this internship and how previous students might have experienced it. And here on the call, we also have people who have or are still doing their internships. So you guys might want to bring in 1 or 2 ideas about your experience of the internships as well. Radek, up to you. Just tell me when to pick or.
No, I think it's fine. So after you get all that knowledge in year 1, and that's a lot of knowledge, you have to put it into use, and you have to learn how to put it into use. So as part of the program, students have to complete 300 hours of internship. This is usually unpaid work, although we find ways to help students financially throughout this period, either through Erasmus grants or other financial aid programs. So we do assist students in receiving funding for that. Ideally, that internship should be supervised by a psychologist, but this is not the rule. So if you find a fantastic internship somewhere in a great organization that doesn't have a psychologist on board, but they have a social scientist, then that's perfect. Yeah? The internship has to be relevant to the Global Minds program, which means that we normally have students in organizations that deal with migration in general terms. What kind of migration it is, it really depends on the interests of the students. So for example, we have students working with refugees or involuntary migrants, usually in Ireland. But if you are interested in human resources and managing global mobility of employees in a company, we have students who do that kind of internship in the PwC office in Warsaw. So it really depends on what you want to do professionally, and also what kind of thesis you're preparing. Ideally, your internship should help you also gathering data for your master thesis, although this is not necessarily always the case. It usually takes place in the third semester. So like Anca said, we have some students starting already in July, just after the summer school. Some students start in September, but generally we like the students to do the internship throughout semester 3 of the program, so that for semester 4 they can concentrate on their thesis and submit it on time. The location of the internship is entirely up to you. I mean, in the perfect world, the internship should be located where your thesis is. So if you do your thesis with someone from UL, preferably you should be in Ireland, even more preferably in Limerick. If you're doing your thesis with someone from Iste, then it would be best if you were in Portugal. But we've had students who did their internship in Japan. We had students who did their internship in Canada. It really does depend on your choice and your preference. However, please note that if you are doing your internship somewhere near one of the 4 campuses, we can help you with a lot of stuff during that internship. If you go to Japan, then our possibilities are quite limited, despite us being a very international program. You will have to rely on your own resources over there. We help in organizing the internship. So again, it's not a situation where you tell you go and get an internship, bye, see you in 3 months. But we do have a list of institutions where you can apply, that where our students have already been and done internships over there, or organizations that work with us on a regular basis. But it's also if you are super resourceful and find yourself an organization somewhere else, and the program of the internship is relevant to Global Minds, you are more than welcome to pursue an internship with them.
Radek, can I interrupt you just very briefly, because I really like Bea's point of view about this, because she secured her own internship, and I mean, I was just so amazed that she found it and she did so well and so on. And I actually only in retrospect realized that was really important, that actually the student ensured and looked and found and was successful, right? Because that's another really powerful experience to have, where you take hold of, I want to go there and I want to make this happen, right? And you know, sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't, right? So, but I think in Beatrice's case, it actually happened. Bea, do you want to say anything about that?
Yeah, of course. And I think that this is actually a very important part of the program. So for us, it was also the first cohort. So, you know, like we were facing all of this, like for the first time. So there was like not like all the students to go and ask for some advice. So I will just say that for us, it was very important and way better to find our own internships by our own self. Mostly because what Radek was saying, you know, like it's very important to start like the 4th semester with the thesis, because you have time to develop the thesis, but like the earlier the best, you know. So it's true that some people found their internships during summer and then they could start a bit earlier, and that really helped us, and that's fantastic. But the earlier that you find and you look for your internship, the better. And I think that this is a learning that we all should like delve into, because at the end, when you finish your master's, all that learning that you got from looking for your internships, contacting people, just even the writing up the first email, you know, and saying, hey, I like your organization. Are you up for like offering me an internship? Or I'm like into offering you this time as an internship. I think that all that learning is something that the master's itself is not giving you, but with the opportunity of finding your own internship, you will learn that, because at the end, 6 months later, you're graduating and you have to look for a job because Global Minds is over and nobody's going to help you about that, because it makes sense now you're on your own. So I completely recommend people to find their own internship. The list that the list of internships and these places, they're like, most of them are places that all like our students, like the first and the second cohort, found on ourselves. And that was a connection that we did by ourselves. So maybe they're up for another internship, or maybe they're not. I'm talking just by my experience. The place that I did the internship with was a small organization in Berlin supporting refugees. And they were not even offering an internship, but I really liked them. I emailed them. We had some interviews and like some chats. And at the end, they got me as an internship person. So it's just a matter of making that connection, and
and you have a really good excuse to do it, right? And I suppose that's the beauty of having.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that for a postgraduate, like for postgraduate studies, that is not just your bachelor, that right after this you're jumping into like the job market. It is way better for you to find something. And like the last recommendation I will do is that if you really want to do something in an official organization, let's say any agency of the European Union, or like this kind of big places, their deadlines for the fall semester are quite early. So if you want to do, for example, like with FRA, this agency in Vienna, they start the internship in September, but the deadline, I think that is early March or February. Mm-hmm. So the earlier that you start finding these places and applying for them, the better, because we found ourselves in summer looking for internships, and all these like big ones that are very, very good ones, they were all gone. So just keep that in mind.
That's great. Thank you so much, Bea. Radek, I don't know, do you want to go through all of these examples or not?
No, we can show them. Yes. So yeah. we've had students that were doing internships in UN agencies or EU agencies. So like Bea said, you have to apply very early for them. Some students decide to do research internships, so this is also to learn the methodology and to assemble data. So here is a list, a very impressive one. So not, not necessarily small organizations. NGOs is very often the choice for our students. So I went to work with a small organization in Berlin. Some of them are small, some of them are quite big, like the Red Cross, and they're scattered all over the place. Yes, so we had students doing internships in the US. We had students doing internships in New Zealand. So again, we are a global program. And then there are private companies like PwC or Accenture. So large international companies or smaller companies that deal with diversity on an everyday basis, where knowledge of diversity management and dealing with diversity is very valuable.
So I think this is more or less what, again, a little bit of a unique feature of our program that I think it was worth, talking about. Oh, sorry. I just muted myself there in an excitement. So I suppose what I wanted to say is that when you want to apply for this program, it's really important that you know these things, especially like Bea was saying, that you have this on your radar from the beginning, because if you aim for a very particular kind of experience, then you might actually have to apply for that earlier, or, there might be all these deadlines and so on. And as far as we are concerned, the most important part is that you apply your knowledge, or that you can see how you might end up in the labor market, and that this is like a cushioned way of doing that. Ideally, of course, you get paid, because for the rest of your life you'll also have to get paid, right? And this is still something that is a very difficult task, because in so many countries, while you're still a student, everything is on a volunteer basis, and this is something that we as institutions feel very strong about, that we voluntary work is good, but pay work is necessary. And, the sooner our graduates and our students come on the labor market to understand even the labor market, right? So these are things that are themselves a world on their own. How do you get paid in the University of Limerick? So Didi did her internship with me, and it was really interesting just to kind of explain that when you declare your working hours to this university, they have to be between 9 and 5. Even if students actually work at the weekend most of the time, right? So those are the kind of things that you learn, right? And that's all part of basically growing up, right? The last thing of our presentation, the last part, is really about how to do it, right? Because now we hope that we convinced you that you have to come and study with us, because our program is quite amazing. And also here, where you meet our students, you can also realize the kind of network you're stepping into. So studying at the university and studying within a degree program also gives you a network of peers, right? And I hope that Didi can talk a little bit about that after Elizabeth presents the application process, right? Because Didi, and actually probably Bea is also involved at some level, started this alumni association, right? And I think this is also something really important that you should keep on your radar, because it is the people you study with that are going to be the future for you. Yeah, those are the people who are going to give you jobs and so on. So this horizontal networking while you are in this kind of vertical relationship with your professors and so on is equally important, right? So it's equally important to impress your professor as to impress each other, just to put a bit of pressure on you. But we'll come back to the alumni later, Didi, right? So Elizabeth, do you want to go through with this? We might come back after graduating after, because I think the application, I think, is probably something that is important.
Okay. The deadline for applications for the first phase is the 30th of April, so 1 month from yesterday, more or less. And then as needed, we may have a second phase and a third phase. We think it's best that, applications, of course, earlier will allow students to do things like apply for visas. So in the third phase, for those who are not from Europe, it's a little late because the application for visas can take up to 3 months, and occasionally it does really take that long. The requirements include having a bachelor degree in psychology or at least 60 ECTS credits in psychology courses. And so, as we say there, 1 ECTS corresponds to 25 to 30 hours of work time, or 5 to 6 hours of class meeting. But the courses that count are only real psychology courses or statistics or methods, which can be outside of psychology but need to be in social sciences. So counseling courses or those kinds of things don't count towards those 60 credits. And then we need a high B2 level of English. This, you can look on the website for more specifically exactly the scores for different kinds of tests. But if you have at least 1 year of English education, that will also be a waiver, allow you to waive the need for a test results. Okay, so the application form is on the Global Minds website on the applications page, and you'll need to submit a CV, a motivation letter, a scan of a passport or an ID, some sort of proof of current residence, which does have to have, your name on it. If you're still studying, you can get a letter from your current university, that's sufficient, or a current employer. Certified and legalized first cycle degree, which means a bachelor diploma, or if it's not technically a bachelor, then you may be required to submit the NERC legalization or equivalency statement. The legalization can be an apostille if it's from countries that are signatories to the Apostille Convention, or if not, it often has to be legalization from the Ministry of Education, or sometimes the International Ministry of Foreign Affairs, depending on the country's norms, and then recognized by the country that you'll be getting the your visa from. So the consulate usually. And then a diploma supplement or a transcript, 2 recommendation forms from, we have the forms are on our website, the proof of English language proficiency, and then a $50 application or €50 application fee. Everything needs to be in English, or if not, or if the original is not in English, we need a certified English translation accompanied by the original document in the original language. I think that should be it. Anca?
So again, here we have all sorts of details, right? The details, right? But I suppose all of these things are to be found on the website, right? And you know, again, even the application process on itself usually is a learning experience, right? And these are not really, to be honest, we don't really ask for anything different than any other master's programs, right? So if you're, you know, usually if you're going to study in English, you are required to make some evidence of English proficiency. And yeah, I mean, 2 recommendations letters from people who know you are usually also, you know, the required thing. I suppose what is really important for us usually is your motivation letter, yeah, because we would want to know whether you know, we want to make an assessment whether this program is for you. And sometimes from a student perspective, that could be seen as, oh, they don't want me, they want to reject me, but it's actually a decision around fit. You know, do you fit with the program, and does the program fit with your past study? So that's just mere eligibility if you had enough psychology, yeah, but also the fit with your career aspirations, yeah. So if you're, you know, if you're aiming to have a career in issues around migration and diversity, in issues around mobility, inclusion, multiculturalism, assimilation, dealing with difference, then this program will be a good fit for you, yeah. So it's really in that motivation letter for us, there's a really good opportunity to understand this. Now we do give the chance for interviews as well, where you can also explain these things. So I suppose this part is done, right? I mean, all this stuff with it is really on the website, right? So I really won't go into too much in it. I'm not sure what is there. Okay, so maybe this is important before I go back to those slides about what about the future. Okay, and I suppose because this is a fully self-funded run of the program, right? So in a way, this is also for us new territory. However, even with the Erasmus Mundus funding that we had before, half of the students on the program were self-funded. So the funding was not for everybody anyway. So there was always an issue of how do we make a living if you don't have a scholarship, right? So now this issue will be everybody's issue. What we can definitely tell you is that all partner universities are European institutions, and moving between the partner universities is facilitated by the Erasmus mobility grants, okay? And we can be pretty sure about this, especially since, for example, my university here in Ireland, the University of Limerick, sends and receives between 500 and 700 students on Erasmus every year. We are actually the #1 Erasmus university here in Ireland. Okay, Ireland is small, but never mind, we're still #1, okay? But the thing is, there are those opportunities as well. And it was actually Radek, I think, and with a bit of help from here, there and everywhere that compiled a really good kind of overview of the kind of scholarships you guys might be able to apply for. Okay, so have a look, you know. Also bear in mind that some in different countries where you're coming from, there might be some governmental scholarships that you can apply. Okay, but one really interesting thing, and here I can definitely speak about Ireland, and I think it might be Portugal as well. After you graduate, all the graduates who are non-EU, so non-European graduates, are still entitled to remain in Ireland for 2 years. So you get a 2-year stay-on visa, which I think makes our program again quite popular. And usually, for example, studying in Ireland is popular because of that. Because then not only can you do the degree in the foreign country, but then you can stay on and try to get a job for 2 years. You get this, it's called a 1G stamp, right? All this funny language about the legal things, right? So I have the feeling in Portugal there is such a thing as well. I'm not sure about, no, there's not. Okay. So yeah, come to Ireland, guys. You know, it's Radek, did you want to say something?
Well, yeah, I mean, in Poland, graduates of all college universities, so also the Global Minds program, they get a lifelong work permit. So, so you all also have this possibility of always coming to Poland and work in Poland once you graduate from the program. So there's different countries with different regulations and different opportunities, but in general, if you intend on staying on after you graduate in Europe and continuing to work here, you have the possibility.
Yeah, and this is a joint program, right? So if you for example, if you come on path C, which brings you from Poland to Ireland, then you're getting both, right? Then you have a luxury of choice. As a non-European, these are really important considerations, right? Because it's not just about the study, it's about what you want to do after and where can you go with it, right? So in that situation where you have studied in Poland and in Ireland, you would get this visa and the legal benefits in both countries. So this is also another nice thing about it. I suppose the last thing I want to talk about is we had this, sorry, now I'm going back and forth. We had a slide here about where do people go after. I suppose it's really different, and it's also very individual to a certain degree, because psychology in general as a degree qualifies you to work anywhere where there's people, right? So you become good at working with people, right? And in our Global Minds, the focus is people who are different than you, culturally different or any other kind of relevant difference, right? So you will see here that you know, people who graduated from the program end up working in organizations in roles like you know, human relations, public relations, or things like this. But this is also a research master's, right? So you do come out with a very good repertoire, okay, of research methods that you can apply in different research positions, right? Including staying in the university. Okay, so that's of course always an option. And the other kind of examples of where our alumni are right now, okay, are here. And of course, I really want to emphasize the fact that these might be the stars of our program, right? So that there are also the other people who maybe still didn't find a job or didn't find a PhD position or are still looking, right? In that sense, we are not any different than any other master's program, right? Because actually, unless you have a deal, like it used to be in communist countries, that if you graduate from this university, you go to work in this factory or in this institution. You know, this is just not how people find jobs these days, I suppose, right? So just to put that disclaimer on this particular slide, right? Because of course the experiences are different. What we are really hoping for is that we equip you with enough skills to be able to apply them in a range of jobs, and maybe that the internship experience and the whole networking that you do during the program increases your chances of getting the job that you dream of. Yeah. So that's I suppose one thing. But on that topic of networking, I wonder, Didi, do you want to say something something about the alumni. I actually don't know anything about it. So you will use this opportunity that you tell me about it too.
Okay, so yeah, currently with the students from the first, second, and the current core, we are trying to develop this network that will put together all the students from Global Minds in a student association. We are in the process to create the constitution and in create like defining the status of the organization. But hopefully at the end of the semester, we already will have something formed. So we, like you as future students, will be beneficiaries of this organization. The idea of this organization is to be a network where all of us, experts on diversity, inclusion, and global mobility topics, can come together and also give some kind of mentorship for new students, also give some kind of support and advice in regards to internships, in regard to thesis topics, for example. But I think the most important thing, and so actually it was something that I would never had thought before in my life, and it was result of my internship. I got very interested in project development and I start creating projects. And now I think that one of the focus that I really would like to have in this organization, in this association, is having us as former or current students creating projects for the European Union or for local countries, and start applying the knowledge that we are getting from the master in practical things that can help others. And also this mechanism also could be a way for current students to get an internship, for example. Or also could be a future way for alumni to get a job and to work in this project. So that is how the process is going so far. We are in this with Bea actually actively, and Rosy also. So, well, hopefully at the end of this semester we will have something, and we would love to have you on board in the future. This is also could be, well, everything that we are going to do is in a volunteer basis, but I think it's worth it to develop something like this as a way to get some real experience of the war, and also, as I mentioned, it was something that I never thought before. But I think that in addition to research or to go directly to work to a company, why not you be the one creating something new and then giving opportunities to others and applying the knowledge that you got to benefit of the population in general. So yeah, really I invite you to apply, and maybe, well, hopefully in the future be part of the program and the association for the students.
Thank you so much, Didi. I love the entrepreneurial style, right? I mean, this is what actually European education more generally want us to go towards, right? That we educate graduates who are able to make their own path, right? So don't go where there is already a path. Go where there's no path and make your own, right? And I suppose that this is something that such a diverse network of new experts in migration and diversity can really do, yeah, because what you're not just experts in processes, in the process of dealing with acculturation stress or the process of integrating migrants into a new country, but you now have insights from multiple countries because the people who are there studying, your colleagues, your roommate, are from those countries. So the examples and the sharing of good practice and knowledge happens organically. And if you manage to give this a structure like the one that you're talking about, then you're talking about creating yourselves job opportunities, right? Where you are yourselves identifying a gap, okay, that, you know, like within the European Union, we are a European Union, but, you know, we are still not very good at exchanging those good practices, right? But now we have a chance to exchange those good practices with Southeast Asia, with China, with Latin America and North America, right? So this is the future. The future is in a much more globalized and interconnected world, I suppose. And you guys are the new generation, right? I mean, another thing that I would like to say that is a benefit of our program for ourselves, for the people developing and running the program, is that we are very much aware of decolonizing our curricula, right? So we are now in our own universities becoming pioneering in saying, hey, my student told me that in Brazil, they don't teach this, they teach this, right? So why don't we also have a class on this in our Western European module on psychology, right? At the same time, it's interesting just to know, to be able to position that your curricula, your readings, your reference, you know, in terms of research, for example, is European, right? I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, but at least know that that's not the only thing that exists in the world, because look, in South Korea, they do things differently, or you know, things like this. So I suppose this is also something that for us as a course board is a real joy and a real benefit of the program, because there is this constant learning between the staff and the students as well, and the program itself develops this way. So this year we have a path in inclusion and health. This health accent was not there in the first run of the Global Minds program. The reason we put it there was because a lot of the students who applied to the program were interested in health. They were interested to know how the well-being of people living in refugee camps for 30 years or for 5 months can be improved, or how can we design interventions that improve the mental health of long-term or short-term migrants, never mind the refugee and displacement issue, just migrants, right? Because this, you know, moving itself is traumatic and needs care, right? So we develop the program in a way that actually meets also the requirements of the students, and that really wants to leverage this exchange of knowledge from around the world, right? And what else unites us all, especially during a pandemic, than figuring out how to stay healthy, right? And how to help each other to stay healthy. Bea, I thought you had a question or an answer to Didi. I don't know, did you just want to applaud her entrepreneurial spirit, or was there something to add about this, yeah, the future, what happens after the Global Minds?
No, I was just applauding her because, I mean, we are trying to do this as a team, but it's true that Didi has been the lead on all of this, you know, like sending the emails, and it's true that we are all trying to support and like be part of it, but if you don't have a lead, it is difficult to do this stuff. And that was like a pep talk that all needed to hear. So I was just applauding her as her role in doing all of this.
Excellent. And again, maybe Rosy, you can add to that as well, because you also got engaged very much, or not just with the Global Minds students and the Global Minds cohort, present and past, but also you got involved with the local students and with the local postgraduate student organizations and so on. And I know that you and Didi, working with this Sanctuary Psychology project we have here, are also at that forefront of kind of applying knowledge and also spreading knowledge, right? So we you know, I think that's also a really important aspect of psychology and of understanding diversity, because you realize that the things you know are very new for another person, and the thing they know could help you, right? So just the sharing of knowledge, I suppose, is quite important. Do you want to add anything on that? Because you're doing a lot of sharing at the moment.
Thank you, Anca. I'm trying, whatever I'm learning, I'm trying to implement it. So those who are here at UL, so at UL we have one postgrad student union, and we also have UL Student Life. So that is mostly run by undergrad students, and PSU for postgrad students. So this year, UL Student Life, they celebrated Diversity Week. Most of the time, I was just behind the work. I was just creating posters, and we are just trying to understand how should we go for it. And the same thing, for PSU, Postgrad Student Union, we celebrated it for the whole 1 week. And everyone came to our platform, they talk about how diversity is important to them. So that time, during that week, we realized that, especially me, I realized that we are really trying to understand what is diversity, but at the same time, we are from diverse backgrounds, so we don't know how to approach or or what should be the best way to approach. So that time I found myself in a very unique position. Okay, so again my study came here. Maybe I can help you with that. Someone was saying, how can we relate with mental health? Then I said, okay, we have acculturation stress. Someone was saying from healthy UL, then how can I relate with physical health? So we really got to interact with each and every aspects of UL, healthy UL, sanctuary with psychology, UL aged counseling support. So everyone was saying, wow, diversity is related to everything, basically, from our food, our fusion and the experiment of our food, because whatever I'm eating now, all of those are fusion food. Those are not Asian food at all. So from food to from our daily living life, everything is related to diversity. But from theoretical perspective, I was feeling that, okay, so now we can contribute. So yes, I think because today
and you
also
didn't even graduate yet, so that's great, right? You're not even finished.
No, but I think this course, the name is really unique and it's really catchy, because when I was giving interview, they were asking me global minds. Wow, this name says a lot. Tell me more about that. So it was sort of interview about global minds, not about me. So that was nice. That was nice. I really liked it, because people are getting curious about this course, and especially because of the name, and especially because of the diverse face we have.
And I suppose this is a good place to end. And it almost sounds like we actually planned this, but we actually really didn't plan that much. We just know that we're all coming from the same space and the same experience. So I'm really grateful to all of you, all the panelists, and especially the students and the alumni, currently research assistants on important projects here, Bea at UL. I really am very grateful for all of you for putting together an image for our program, right? And we want to use this this webinar as an introduction to what we are about. Yeah, so we are a master's program, we are a joint master's program, and we are a very diverse master program by definition. Because we are teaching it between 4 universities, but also by constitution, because we are, the program is about this, the content, the delivery of the program is about the psychology of diversity, migration, inclusion, but it's also the fact that we are all diverse, the staff and the students. And I suppose for me, this is, one of the best experiences I've had for the last 7 years. I know that at least for the students here present, because they were very keen to come and join us, I know for them it was a really nice experience, and I know from many others as well. So what we wish is that you guys stay in touch with us. We have here just some of the email addresses, but Didi also shared that we have a LinkedIn page, we have an Instagram page, a Facebook page as well, I think, and of course the website where you can find out any details. We would really hope to meet you in person. It's unfortunate that all we can see now is actually the names, but thank you so much for staying on, for joining us, and we look forward to meeting you in person. Guys, do you want to say your goodbyes as well, please?
Before we go there, I think there were a couple of questions that came through in the question and answer that I would like to just say a few seconds about live, because I don't know on the version that we'll put on the website, I don't know if the written will show up. So also to say, if there's any more questions, please write them down now, and we'll try to answer them either in writing or aloud. In terms of, there was one question that I have received a few times about whether people can do the program either at part-time or only like the second year, join after doing 1 year of a different program. And I want to answer that neither of those is possible because of the nature of the program, with the travel, the mobility between different universities, and how the first year builds on the internship and the thesis, or the thesis and the internship build on the first year curriculum and the summer school. It is only possible for students to do this course as a full-time course and do it for the whole 2 years. So I want to make sure that that is clear. I think otherwise, someone asked a question about housing, and that depends a little bit on the university. But Limerick and Oslo both have housing that they, help organize you to take advantage of. Although if you don't want to, you don't have to. But most students do. At SWPS and at ISKTE, we don't really have any housing, on campus housing, but we do assist you in looking for apartments. So those were the two that I felt like we didn't address in any other way. Most of the other questions either were addressed or were more particular.
Yes, and I agree. I think it's very important that we speak those things out clearly, because I also don't know if these answers and questions will come up there. There is also always the question: do I have enough psychology? Right? Do I have enough psychology to graduate? Because indeed we do ask that there is a bachelor in psychology, but at the same time we are really keen to look into equivalencies. Right? So you might have a bachelor program in something else, or a bachelor / plus minus a master's in something, and all together you might actually have had enough psychology courses to qualify you for our program, right? So I think the best way to find those answers is send us an email and a copy of your transcripts of the kind of psychology you did before, and we'll try to add it up with you. Those are the kind of details that we really want to work with you, and it's very hard to say a yes or no unless we know the details from your transcripts, right? But remember, this is a research master's and it is a psychology master, so coming totally fresh with zero social science kind of exposure would just make it very difficult for you. And impossible for us. So therefore, it's an eligibility criteria, right? So hopefully we find each other. We are there for you, and you want to join us. And I will end here the recording.